The desert wind howled across the battlefield, carrying the scent of burning metal and blood. Smoke curled from shattered wreckage, twisted machines, and fallen bodies, both human and alien. The ground was cracked from the weight of war, but silence had finally come. Only the low groans of the dying remained. Captain Rhys Morgan dropped to one knee behind a broken engine core, catching his breath. His armor was cracked. Blood dripped from his side. He had lost contact with his unit hours ago, and his comms were dead. He had been fighting non-stop. They had landed for a peacekeeping mission, but the truth was far from peace. It was a trap. The Thalari, the planet's native species, had sent a distress call across the stars. Something about famine, about needing help. The Human Alliance responded. Supplies were dropped, medics dispatched. Then, without warning, the skies exploded. Fighters ones painted with the Thalari crest screamed through the clouds and fired first. No one knew why. Rhys had survived thanks to instinct, training, and maybe luck. But now he was alone and deep behind enemy lines. A sudden noise soft like breath came from his right. He spun around, rifle raised, finger on the trigger. There, half buried beneath a cracked shuttle door, was someone. A figure small, shaking. A Thalari female. She looked barely alive. Blood soaked the fabric around her legs. One of her arms was twisted strangely, and her long silver-blue hair was tangled with sand and ash. Her wide, glowing eyes blinked slowly as she struggled to breathe. Rhys hesitated. The war had turned friend into enemy in a second. But he had seen enough of war to know that cruelty had no loyalty. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't holding a weapon. She was just left behind. He lowered his weapon and approached carefully. "Can you hear me?" he asked. "Are you hurt?" She blinked again. Her lips moved, but no sound came, just a whisper of breath. He scanned the wreckage. No other Thalari, no threats, just a dying girl. He cursed under his breath and pulled out the last of his medkits. As he knelt beside her, she tensed but didn't pull away. She was too weak to resist. Her skin was soft, almost glowing under the layer of dust and blood. He treated her wounds as gently as he could, wrapping her arm, applying pressure to the bleeding gash at her waist. When she flinched, he paused, then spoke in a calm voice. "I'm not going to hurt you. I don't know what happened to start this war, but I didn't come here to kill your people." Her eyes filled with tears. One rolled down her cheek. Rhys carefully lifted her out from under the debris. She was lighter than he expected. Every bone in her body seemed fragile, almost bird-like. She groaned in pain but clung to his armor with one good hand. He didn't know what came over him. But he felt responsible now. He couldn't leave her to die. War or not. Hours passed before he found shelter in an old Thalari temple carved into the cliffs. It looked abandoned. The entrance was half buried in sand, and the roof had collapsed in some parts. But it was quiet, hidden. Inside, the stone glowed faintly, with soft symbols. He laid her gently on a platform covered in dust. She was cold. He started a fire with broken tech scrap and his last fuel cell, then wrapped her in his outer coat. Only then did she speak. "You saved me." Her voice was weak but clear. Rhys sat beside her, surprised. "You speak Standard?" he asked. She nodded slowly, then looked up at him with those strange glowing eyes. "My name is Yari," she whispered. "And now I am yours." Rhys blinked. "What do you mean, yours?" She looked ashamed but didn't look away. "The ancient laws of my people, if one is saved from death, in sacred land, by someone outside their kind, they belong to the Savior, body and life." He stood slowly, shocked. "Wait, are you saying that I own you now?" She closed her eyes. "You took my death from me. Now by tradition, you must take my purity." Rhys took a step back. "I didn't save you for that. It is not a punishment," she said. "It is a gift, one only given once. It is our way. If it is not done, I will be cursed in spirit." Rhys didn't answer right away. The fire crackled. Quietly, her words made no sense to his culture, but the look in her eyes was honest. Not forced, not ashamed, just waiting. Outside, wind howled against the stones. But inside, something fragile had been born from war, something he didn't understand, but couldn't ignore. He sat beside her again, unsure of what would come next. But one thing was certain. This was far from over. The fire still flickered. In the old temple cave, its orange light danced on the ancient stone walls, casting strange shadows over Yari's face. Rhys sat beside her, staring into the flames, heart still racing from what she had told him. He had fought through battles, lost comrades, and seen death up close, but nothing had prepared him for this. The idea of ownership, of taking someone because of an old alien custom, felt wrong to him. Yet the girl lying near him didn't seem afraid. She seemed accepting. Yari's silver-blue eyes blinked slowly as she studied him. Her voice was soft but steady now. "You saved my body, but if you don't complete the bond, my spirit is left open. It will never heal." "I don't understand this," Rhys replied. "Where I come from, we don't believe in claiming someone this way." Yari didn't move. Her injured arm was bandaged tightly, but her body still trembled from exhaustion and blood loss. "I know, but the temple accepted your presence. You carried me inside. That act means more to my people than words. It means fate chose you." Rhys leaned his head back against the cold stone wall, breathing heavily. "You said this place is sacred?" She nodded. "Built by the first matriarchs, a place of binding, healing, judgment. Our oldest traditions are tied here. And once the law is triggered, it cannot be undone. You are now part of it." Rhys muttered, "Great. I came to help your people and somehow ended up breaking an alien law." Yari gave him a small, tired smile. "No, you honored it." A long silence followed. Outside, the wind never stopped howling. The war was still going on. Somewhere beyond the horizon, humans and Thalari were still killing each other. And here he was, caught in a forgotten ritual. Rhys stood slowly and checked the area. The temple had 2 exits, one buried by debris, the other leading deeper underground. No heat signatures, no drones, no scouts. At least for now, they were safe. Yari tried to sit up but groaned. Her legs were too weak. Without asking, Rhys came over and helped support her back. "You shouldn't move," he said. "Your wounds aren't sealed yet." "I must move before dawn," she whispered, "or it will be too late." He frowned. "Too late for what?" "For the ritual." Rhys stepped back. "Yari, listen. I'm not here to take anything from you, not like that. I saved your life because it was the right thing to do, not because I expected." She raised a hand to stop him. "I'm not asking you to expect anything. I'm offering. That is our law. The purity isn't just a physical thing, it's the tie that seals a soul to its protector. Without it, I'll carry the mark of shame. Even if I live, my people will see me as cursed." Rhys couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're saying your own people would exile you? Because I didn't take your purity?" Yari looked away. "They would never say it openly. But they would not speak to me. I could not marry. Could not hold a child. Could not return to the clans." The fire cracked again. Rhys stood still for a moment, then paced a few steps, tension burning in his shoulders. "It's not right," he said. "It's not fair." She gave a quiet laugh. "War isn't fair either, is it?" They both fell into silence. Rhys sat again, closer now, watching her face. There was something calm about her, something gentle. Even with her body broken, even with her fate tied to a stranger from another world, she didn't cry, didn't beg. She only offered. What happens if I agree? He asked finally. Her glowing eyes met his. Then the bond is complete. My soul is sealed to yours. My future is restored. And me? You will carry my symbol. And if I survive, I will follow you for life. That is what our tradition demands. Rhys stared at the fire again. In the corner of his mind, the war still raged. He could almost hear the echo of gunfire, smell the smoke. But here, in this ancient place with this strange, brave girl, none of that seemed real anymore. You don't even know my name, he whispered. Rhys Morgan, she said without hesitation. You spoke it over your fallen during battle. I heard it. Rhys blinked. She lowered her eyes again, and I will never forget it. He didn't answer. He simply pulled the coat over her shoulders again and sat beside her in silence. The fire dimmed, but warmth remained. So did the tension in the air, an old law hanging between them, unbroken and waiting. And the night was far from over. The fire had almost died when Rhys opened his eyes again. Cold air crept into the temple, but the soft glow from the ancient walls made it feel strangely alive. Symbols pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of something watching them both. Yari was awake. She had been staring at him silently, as if she hadn't slept at all. Her color looked better now, though her body was still weak. The bandages had stopped the bleeding, but time was running short. I feel it, she said softly. Rhys sat up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Feel what? The moment. It's coming. Her voice trembled slightly. If we wait too long, the bond will collapse. He didn't know what that meant exactly. But she looked truly afraid now, not of him, not of pain, but of this bond being lost. Whatever it was, it mattered deeply to her. Rhys glanced at the temple's walls again. You really believe your soul is tied to this ritual? I do, she said, her voice calm again. You saved me, and the law says I give myself to you. I give what is most sacred, so the spirits may see the bond and protect both of us. He stood and paced slowly, feeling like the world was pressing down on his chest. Yari, where I come from, doing something like this just because of a law feels wrong. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you to feel forced. I don't feel forced, she replied. I feel chosen. Those words made him stop. I don't belong to anyone by force, she added. But I choose to give myself. That is my power. My way to honor what you did. Rhys walked back toward her and knelt beside the fire. And if I say no, then I will still honor you, she said. But I will carry the shame. I will never have a family. Never be whole in the eyes of my people. And my bond to you will stay open, unhealed. It will hurt both of us. How would it hurt me? He asked. She looked away. You would carry a mark of dishonor in this place, not seen but felt. And the spirits of this temple, they are not kind to those who break a sacred bond. Rhys exhaled deeply. He wasn't a man who believed in spirits. He believed in training, instinct, survival. But there was something strange about this place, something powerful. It was like the air itself whispered things he couldn't understand. Reached for his coat and laid it out beside her like a blanket. Then tell me what I must do. Yari's eyes widened slightly, glowing brighter in the firelight. You accept? I don't fully understand, he admitted, but I believe you. And I don't want you to suffer because I'm too stubborn to listen. She didn't move at first. Then slowly, painfully, she sat up and placed her hand gently over his heart. Then you must repeat the words, Rhys nodded. Tell me. She spoke slowly, guiding him word by word in her native tongue. The language was strange and his lips sharp, musical, almost like singing. As he spoke, the glowing runes on the walls grew brighter. The air warmed. Yari pressed her forehead to his. Her body trembled, but her hands were steady. Now the spirits are watching. They know you mean no harm. You came not to take, but to protect. I didn't expect any of this, Rhys said softly. But I won't turn away from it either. Her voice was barely a whisper. Then I am yours. Rhys reached forward, gently brushing the loose strands of hair from her cheek. Her eyes closed. She leaned into his hand like it gave her strength. His movements were slow, careful. He wasn't touching her out of passion, but something deeper, respect, acceptance. The glow around them pulsed once more. It was as if the temple itself approved. And then, without another word, Yari placed her palm over her chest and pressed it to his. A soft light passed between them, not burning, not hot. Just warm, real, alive. She gasped faintly, then smiled. It's done. She whispered. We are sealed. Rhys felt something shift inside him. Not physical but real, like a thread now connected their hearts. He couldn't explain it, but he couldn't deny it. Suddenly the ground trembled beneath them. Yari's eyes shot open. They're coming. Who? My people, she said. The elders. The scouts, they felt the bond. They will want to see it. They may not accept you. Rhys grabbed his gear and helped her to her feet. Then let's make sure they understand that I didn't take you. You gave yourself to me. She looked up at him with fierce eyes. Then stay strong. Because the test isn't over. It's only just begun. The temple trembled again, stronger this time. Dust fell from the cracked ceiling as glowing symbols flared along the ancient stone walls. Rhys reached for his rifle, but Yari gently stopped him. No weapons, she whispered. This place forbids violence. They might not care about that, he muttered. They might just see a human touching one of their own. They will not harm me, she said, voice steady. But you, they will test you. Test me how? Before she could answer, the far side of the temple opened with a deep rumble. A hidden door, stone sliding over stone, revealed a path filled with golden light. 3 figures stood in the entrance, their shadows stretching long into the temple. Thalari elders. They wore robes made of shimmering fabric, their heads crowned with thin silver rings that floated slightly above their foreheads. Their eyes glowed like Yari's, but brighter, older, wiser, and colder. The one in the center stepped forward. Who brings the bond into sacred ground? Yari stood, swaying slightly, but held her chin high. I do. I am Yari, daughter of Clan Vasht. I was saved. And one offered myself. The elder's eyes moved to Rhys. Human, speak your truth. Rhys took a breath, standing tall despite the weight of their stares. I saved her life. I didn't do it for a reward. But I accepted the bond because she asked, because it meant something to her. The elder tilted his head. Do you even understand what you've done? Not fully, Rhys admitted. But I honored her choice. I didn't take her. She gave herself. The second elder female, with sharp features, stepped forward. Then you must prove that your heart is strong enough to hold her spirit. If you fail, the bond will shatter, and she will suffer for your weakness. Rhys stiffened. How do I prove it? The third elder raised his arm, pointing to a massive stone basin behind the altar. By trial of fire. Rhys looked to Yari. She didn't speak. Her face had gone pale. The first elder gestured, and the basin burst into flames, green and silver, high and violent, yet silent. Step into the fire, he said. Let it see your truth. Rhys stared at the fire. It didn't make sense. How could he step into it without burning alive? He hesitated. He wasn't afraid to die, but he didn't want to die for nothing. If your soul matches hers, the elder said, the fire will not burn you. If you lied or your heart is not pure, it will consume you. Rhys looked once more at Yari. Her eyes were wet now, but she didn't speak. She only nodded, lips trembling. He turned to the flame. He thought of the war. The soldiers he had lost. The people he had trusted. He had killed to survive, but never for pleasure. He had followed orders but kept his soul intact. And now, a life for life, depended on whether that soul was clean. Without another word, he stepped forward. The heat was overwhelming, but not burning. The fire licked his boots, then his legs. It wrapped around his chest, his arms, his face, but it didn't hurt. Instead, it filled him with something like being held by light. Like his chest was being opened gently, and something inside was being seen. He thought it would end quickly, but it didn't. Visions flashed in his mind, his mother's hands, his brother's smile, the battlefield. The moment he chose not to shoot a scared alien child. Then Yari's eyes, her broken body in his arms. Her voice whispering, "You saved me." Then silence. The fire vanished in an instant. Reese stood alone in the center of the basin. Unharmed, the elders looked stunned. Yari gasped, covering her mouth. With her hand, the elder with the silver crown stepped back. "He is accepted." The second elder added, "The fire judged him worthy." The third said, "Then the bond is complete. It will not be broken." Yari ran to Reese, her arms wrapped around him tightly, her body shaking. "You did it. You really did it." Reese held her gently. "I just walked into fire for you. And you survived," she said with a breathless smile. "That means something bigger than you know." But before they could say more, the elder turned with a warning. "Your bond may be sealed, but many outside will not accept it. The war still burns. And there are those who hate the idea of a Valerie giving herself to a human." Yari stepped in front of Reese. "Then we will stand together. We are one now. They can't undo what has been done." Reese nodded. "Let them come. I'm not backing down." Outside, the wind carried the sounds of aircraft. More were coming. Maybe soldiers. Maybe enemies. Maybe both. The temple had judged him, but the world beyond had not, and the real battle was just beginning. The sky above the temple turned red. Dropships cut through the clouds, casting shadows over the cliffs. Their engines roared like angry beasts. Reese saw them first, black and silver crafts with the Thalari war emblem, not scouts, not elders. Soldiers. "They're not here to honor tradition," Reese said, pulling Yari behind the stone pillar near the temple entrance. "They're here for blood." Yari's eyes widened. "They've come to stop the bond. They think I've betrayed my race, but you haven't," Reese said. "You followed your law, your tradition." She shook her head. "To them, I broke something sacred by giving myself to a human. Some believe your kind are impure. They want the bond erased." Reese turned to the elders. "Aren't you going to stop them?" The elder with the silver crown looked grave. "We do not control those warriors. They serve the High Blood Council. They do not honor the old laws. They believe in strength, not spirit." "So what happens now?" Reese asked. "They will try to take her," said the second elder. "And if you resist, they will kill you." Yari gripped Reese's arm tightly. "I won't go with them. I'd rather die." Reese stepped forward, shielding her. "They'll have to go through me." The firelight in the temple dimmed as the soldiers landed outside. Heavy footsteps marched closer. Then came the voice, deep, loud, filled with authority. "Bring the girl out," it demanded. In Valerie tongue. "The bond is false. The purity must be restored." Yari whispered. "That's General Corvin. He leads the Purity Guard. He hates humans more than anyone." Reese clenched his fists. "Then we hold our ground. I've fought worse than fanatics." The elders looked at each other, silent, then nodded slowly. "We cannot fight," the first elder said. "But we can hide the bond in the temple's heart. If you make it there, the bond will become unbreakable, even by force." "Where is it?" Reese asked. The elder pointed to a tunnel hidden behind. A carved statue of two entwined spirits. "Go now, we will delay them." Yari moved first, limping toward the tunnel. Reese stayed close behind, helping her stay upright. Just before disappearing into the shadows, he looked back at the elders. "Thank you," they didn't speak. Then the door slammed behind them. Inside the tunnel, the air grew colder. The walls were covered in glowing veins of blue light. Symbols shifted as they passed, pulsing with each step. It felt like the temple was guiding them. "Are you okay?" Rhys whispered, holding her close as they walked. "I'm tired," Yari admitted, "but I won't stop, not until the bond is safe." Suddenly the tunnel shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A faint explosion rumbled behind them. "They're forcing their way in," Rhys muttered. "We don't have much time." The path narrowed, opening into a round chamber carved with ancient marks. In the center stood a pillar of crystal, glowing bright white, the very heart of the temple. Yari took a breath and stepped forward. "What do we do?" Rhys asked. "Place your hand here," she said, pointing to a carved symbol at the base of the pillar. He obeyed. The crystal responded instantly. It flashed with light and released a wave of warmth that filled the entire room. Yari followed, placing her hand beside his. Together, the two of them were lifted off the ground only slightly. Their feet hovered inches above the floor as the light wrapped around them like threads of silk. Rhys didn't move. Neither did Yari. Their bond was being written into the temple's memory. A mark in the sacred core. Then silence. They dropped gently back to the ground. The pillar dimmed, but a symbol burned on Rhys's hand. A perfect circle surrounded by 2 stars. Yari looked at his palm and smiled with tears in her eyes. "It's done. The bond is eternal now. Let's hope we live long enough to enjoy it," Rhys said. A scream came from the tunnel. Then footsteps. The door burst open, and Corvin entered with 4 armored soldiers. His face twisted in rage when he saw the glowing mark on Rhys's hand. "You filthy outsider!" he roared. "You dare stain our traditions?" Yari stepped in front of Rhys. "Again, he saved me. He protected me. The bond was sealed by fire and light. Your hatred means nothing," Corvin growled. "Then you'll both die with your false love." The soldiers raised their weapons. Rhys didn't wait. He drew his sidearm and fired at the ceiling. Rocks fell, blocking the tunnel. Smoke filled the chamber as Yari grabbed his hand. "Come, there's another way." They turned and ran through a hidden exit in the back of the chamber, one only. The bonded were allowed to know. Behind them, Corvin shouted, ordering his men to clear the debris. Rhys and Yari vanished into the dark. The war wasn't just between humans and aliens anymore. Now, it was between love and hate. And the chase had just begun. Asterisk darkness swallowed them as Rhys and Yari raced through the hidden passage, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls. The glowing symbol on Rhys's palm lit the way, casting just enough light to see the narrow turns and ancient carvings around them. I was struggling to keep up. She limped badly, her breath shaky. Rhys didn't hesitate. He wrapped one arm around her waist and lifted her off the ground, carrying her as fast as he could. "They'll clear the rubble soon," Yari gasped. "Corvin will follow." "Then we don't stop," Rhys said, voice low but firm. "We find a way out. We survive. That's all that matters now." Behind them, muffled voices shouted in Thalari. Rhys could hear distant pounding Corvins. Soldiers were trying to break through the collapsed entrance. The path twisted again, opening into a wide underground chamber. Strange machines lined the walls, powered by soft glowing crystals. Some looked like forgotten tech, others like ancient tools. At the far end, a circular door stood sealed. Rhys approached the console beside the door. It was covered in symbols. Yari weakly lifted her hand. "Place your palm over the center rune." Rhys did as she said. The bond mark on his hand glowed. The door responded with a deep chime, then hissed open slowly, revealing a steep, spiraling ramp leading upward. "Fresh air. We're close to the surface," Rhys said. "We might be able to signal my people." Yari's eyes lit up. "If they Haven't left orbit yet. They moved again upward now, each step heavier than the last. Rhys could feel the weight of the temple behind them, of the traditions they had honored and the wrath they had stirred. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed below, metal clanging, followed by shouts. "They're inside," Yari cried. "There." Getting closer, Rhys pushed harder. The tunnel shook again. Then the ramp ended at a hatch covered in moss and dust. Rhys slammed his fist into the panel beside it. The old door groaned, then slid open to reveal a rocky valley lit by the fading blue light of twin moons. Cold air rushed in. Rhys stepped out first, scanning the area. They were at the base of a tall mountain, surrounded by cliffs and broken ruins. No ships, no beacons. Just silence. He helped Yari out and sealed the hatch behind them. "We'll rest here, then find shelter. Maybe signal the fleet." Yari collapsed to the ground, exhausted. Rhys knelt beside her, brushing hair from her face. "You're burning." "Up. I'm okay," she whispered. "Just weak. Too much energy used during the bond." He tore open a ration pack and gave her water. She sipped it slowly. "I didn't expect all this," he said. "I came to this planet to help. Now I'm hunted because I protected someone." "You didn't just protect me," Yari said softly. "You accepted me. My people believe in law, yes, but not all believe in kindness. You showed both." Rhys looked up at the sky, thinking about the war. "If I send a signal, the military might pull me out. But they'll leave you behind, or worse, use you." Yari gripped his hand. "Then don't call them yet. Let's find a way to survive on our own first." Just then, something shimmered above the cliffs. A drone. Rhys dropped flat and pulled Yari under cover. The drone passed overhead, scanning. It didn't fire, but it turned, heading back toward the temple. "Recon unit," Rhys whispered. "They're tracking us." Yari's voice trembled. "If they report our location, Corvin will send an airstrike. They won't risk letting us live." "We need to disappear," Rhys said. "Go off-grid. If I can find a cave or a valley with natural shielding, we might lose them." He spotted a narrow path between two tall stones, a crevice barely wide. Enough for a person. There. He lifted Yari again and moved into the shadows. The rocks closed in behind them, forming a tight, winding corridor. The deeper they went, the quieter everything became. Finally, they found a hidden alcove behind a wall of vines. Inside was dry ground, a small spring, and soft moss. "Safe for now." Rhys gently laid Yari down and covered the entrance with vines. Again. She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Why do you still protect me?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Because I care. Not because of your law, not because of the bond, but because you're worth saving." Tears filled her eyes. Then, without a word, she reached up and touched the mark on his hand. "And you're worth fighting for." Rhys sat beside her, weapon in hand, watching the shadows. He knew Corvin wouldn't give up. That warships might already be moving into orbit. That the temple bond would mean nothing to those who feared change, but still he stayed, because some things were worth dying for. And others worth living for. The hidden alcove was silent, except for the soft drip of water from the spring and the slow rhythm of Yari's breathing. Rhys sat with his back against the wall, weapon in hand, eyes scanning every shadow beyond the vines. His body ached. His thoughts spun, but he didn't move. Yari stirred beside him. Her color had returned slightly, and her voice was stronger when she spoke. "They won't stop," she said. "Not until they think I'm dead, or you are." "I know," Rhys replied, "but I'm not dying today." She sat up slowly. Her hand reached for his. "I've seen what humans are capable of, both the cruelty and the compassion," she said. You're not like the ones they told stories about." "I wasn't trying to prove anything," Rhys said. "Just trying to do what felt right. She nodded, then smiled weakly. And because of that, we created something new. Something they fear. Reese squeezed her hand. So what now? We can't keep running forever. If we hide, they'll keep hunting. If I call the fleet, they'll come down guns blazing and turn this into another war. Yari's eyes lit with something fierce. Then we show them something they've never seen before. He raised an eyebrow. What's that? A bonded pair, she whispered. Standing together, not for war, but for unity. My people. Follow symbols, they follow strength. If they see I chose you, if they see that I didn't just survive you, but bonded with you by our most sacred rites, they will have to listen. Reese looked uncertain. You think your people will believe? You after Corvin branded you a traitor? They won't believe words, she said. But they'll believe the bond mark. And if we reach the old council hall in the capital ruins, we can invoke the rite of challenge. That sounds like a fight. It is, she said, her voice calm, but not a fight of weapons, a fight of proof. A show of loyalty, courage, and truth. It's the only way to make them stop hunting us. And maybe stop the war. Reese sat in silence, thinking. Then he stood and helped her to her feet. Then we go to the capital. She leaned on him, weak but determined. We'll need transport. We're days away on foot. Reese pulled out a small beacon from his kit. I've got something better. If my dropship didn't leave orbit, it'll still be circling. This beacon will call it to our location, but only once. After that, we're exposed. Do it, she said. If we die, let it be trying to make peace, not hiding in fear. Reese activated the beacon. They waited in silence. 30 minutes later, a shadow passed over the cliffs. A sleek black vessel human design hovered above the valley, lowering a ramp through the mist. Reese helped Yari up the hill as the wind blasted around them. They climbed aboard just as the engines roared again. The pilot, a grizzled human veteran, turned and stared at Yari. That her? That's her, Reese said. And we're going to the Thalary capital, the pilot blinked. You're serious? We're ending this, Reese said. One way or another. Hours later, the ship flew low over the crumbled ruins of the capital. Bomb scars still marred the ancient city. Statues had fallen, temples burned. But the council hall still stood damaged. But proud Reese and Yari stood at the top of the ramp as the ship hovered above the plaza. Already, Thalari soldiers were gathering below. Dozens of them, weapons drawn. Reese looked at Yari. You sure about this? She smiled softly. You took my pain. Let me carry your hope. Then, she jumped. Not far, just enough to land in front of them like a falling star. Her feet struck the ground and she raised her arm, showing the bond mark glowing bright on her palm. Gasps followed. Some soldiers stepped back. I am Yari, daughter of Clan Vasht, she shouted. I offer no shame. I followed the old ways. I gave myself not in fear, but by choice. This human is my bonded mate. Then Reese stepped beside her, raising his hand to reveal the same mark. And I didn't take her. She gave herself. I protected her because it was right. And I would do it again. A long silence followed. Then a soldier dropped his weapon. Another knelt. And slowly, the entire square lowered their arms. Corvin stepped from the crowd, face tight with fury. You've twisted our traditions with emotion and weakness. Yari stood tall. No, we honored them. You twisted them with hate. Corvin raised his blade, one last act of defiance. But before he could strike, a high elder appeared on the ruined steps. Enough, the elder said firmly. The rite has been honored. The bond is sacred. The war ends here. Corvin froze. Yari turned to Reese. Her voice trembled now, not from fear, but from joy. We did it. Reese pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. Yeah, we really did. The sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days. And below it, A human and an alien girl stood side by side, not just as survivors of war, but as a symbol of a future that had finally begun.